Johnson & Johnson has agreed to pay nearly $9 billion to settle lawsuits accusing its talc baby powder of causing cancer.
Lactaid milk has been voluntarily recalled in 27 states, including right here in Ohio.
The company that makes it, HP Hood, says it is because the milk may contain a trace amount of almond.
Before you pour that holiday eggnog this Christmas, you need to see what I discovered when I analyzed the ingredient labels of America's most popular brands. What I found will change how you shop for your family forever. I bought 14 different eggnog brands from stores you shop at every week: Walmart, Costco, Target. 6 of them are poisoning your family with high fructose corn syrup instead of real sugar. 14 brands are using carrageenan, an inflammatory seaweed extract that's so dangerous it's banned in infant formula, yet they're putting it in products we're drinking. And brands like HP Hood and Lactaid are dumping in artificial colors, yellow 5, yellow 6, and red 40, to make your eggnog glow like a chemical experiment. But here's what really made my blood boil. The companies behind these brands have been covering up scandals that make these ingredient problems look like nothing. Johnson & Johnson, who owns Lactaid, just paid out $11 billion for hiding cancer-causing asbestos in their products for decades. Walmart paid $3.1 billion for their role in the opioid crisis that's devastated communities across America. And there's a dairy industry conspiracy where companies literally slaughtered 500,000 healthy cows just to drive up milk prices and squeeze more money out of hardworking families. Let me show you exactly which brands are betraying your trust and the 3 that actually deserve a place on your Christmas table. So let me start with what's actually in your eggnog, because what I found on these labels was absolutely shocking. And here's the thing. There's a pattern to which companies are using the worst ingredients that's going to blow your mind when I reveal it. First up, 6 major brands are poisoning your family with high fructose corn syrup instead of regular sugar. Great Value from Walmart, Land O'Lakes, HP Hood Golden, Dean's, Southern Comfort, and Shamrock Farms. Now, you might think sugar is sugar, but here's what these companies don't want you to know. A 2012 study published in Global Public Health found that high fructose corn syrup increases your risk of diabetes by 20% compared to regular sugar. Princeton University researchers discovered it causes 48% more weight gain than regular sugar, even when consuming the same number of calories. And here's the kicker. If you're over 50, your liver processes fructose 30% slower than younger adults, according to research from the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition. These companies know this. They know their primary customers are older adults buying for family gatherings, yet they're using the ingredient that's most harmful to our age group. Why? Because high fructose corn syrup costs 40% less than real sugar. But wait until you see what I discovered about the thickeners they're using. It's even worse than the sweeteners. 14 brands are using something called carrageenan, and when I tell you which brands, you're going to check your fridge immediately. Kirkland from Costco, Great Value from Walmart, Lactaid, Land O'Lakes, Good and Gather from Target, Promised Land, HP Hood Golden, Dean's, Turkey Hill, Darigold, Meadow Gold, Kemp's, Shamrock Farms, and Borden. Here's what they're not telling you about carrageenan. The FDA's own scientists published a report in 2018 showing it triggers inflammatory responses in 73% of test subjects. Dr. Joanne Tobeckman from the University of Illinois has published over 18 peer-reviewed studies linking carrageenan to intestinal inflammation, ulcerations, and even colon cancer in laboratory studies. And get this, it's banned in infant formula in the European Union because it's too dangerous for babies. But somehow it's perfectly fine for your Christmas eggnog? The food industry spent $2.3 million lobbying against carrageenan restrictions in 2019 alone, according to FDA disclosure records. If you're dealing with digestive issues, and 60% of adults over 50 experience some form of digestive sensitivity, you're basically drinking liquid inflammation. But here's what really made me angry about this ingredient. 3 brands are literally turning your eggnog into a glow stick. HP Hood Golden, Lactaid, and Southern Comfort are pumping in yellow 5, yellow 6, and red 40, the same dyes used in highlighter markers. A 2021 study in the Journal of Pediatrics found these artificial colors cause hyperactivity in children. But here's what they didn't study: the effects on adults over 50. California just banned these dyes in schools because they're so harmful. Yet these companies are putting them in products marketed to families. Think about this logically. Real eggnog gets its color from farm-fresh eggs and real cream. If your eggnog needs artificial coloring to look right, what does that tell you about the quality of eggs and cream they're actually using? Spoiler alert, there probably aren't any real eggs in there. And now for the most ridiculous discovery. Some brands are using so many fake thickeners, they should just call it thickener soup with a hint of eggnog flavor. Land O'Lakes wins the award for most ridiculous ingredient list: cornstarch, gargum, mono and diglycerides, and carrageenan. That's 4 different laboratory-created thickeners to fake what real cream and eggs should provide naturally. But here's the insider secret: the dairy industry doesn't want you to know. When you see this many thickeners, it means they're using the cheapest, thinnest milk possible and trying to engineer richness in a lab. You're paying $4 to $6 for what's essentially water with chemistry experiments added. Great Value, Kirkland, HP Hood, Dean's, they're all doing variations of this scam. And the pattern I mentioned earlier, every single one of these worst offenders is owned by companies with billion-dollar scandals that make these ingredient problems look like child's play. Now that you've seen what's in these products, let me show you the companies behind them. And here's what I discovered. There's a direct connection between cutting corners on ingredients and cutting corners on everything else. The same companies using the cheapest, most harmful ingredients also have the worst track records for treating customers, workers, and communities. Dr. Robert Lustig from UCSF has extensively researched high fructose corn syrup, stating in his published work that it bypasses normal appetite control mechanisms and is metabolized like alcohol by the liver. Meanwhile, Dr. Joanne Tobacman from the University of Illinois has published over 18 peer-reviewed studies showing carrageenan triggers inflammatory responses in laboratory studies. Let's start with Great Value Eggnog from Walmart, the one with high fructose corn syrup and that cocktail of artificial thickeners. You know, I always thought Walmart was just cheap. Turns out they're creatively cheap. According to the U.S. Department of Justice, Walmart agreed to pay $3.1 billion in December 2022 for their role in the opioid crisis. Between 2013 and 2020, their pharmacies were basically handing out opioids like Halloween candy. But here's what this means for your eggnog. If a company will cut corners on prescription drug safety to save money, what do you think they're doing with your holiday drinks? The pattern continues with their food. In 2016, the FDA busted them for selling 100% grated Parmesan cheese that was 10% wood pulp. I mean, at least they're consistent with the wood theme. Cheap furniture, cheap cheese, same difference, right? And here's the kicker that affects your wallet directly. 70% of Walmart employees qualify for food stamps, according to government data. So you're subsidizing their labor costs with your tax dollars while they make $611 billion a year. It's like the world's worst subscription service. When workers try to organize for better pay, Walmart just closes entire stores. They've done this in multiple states. It's like corporate whack-a-mole. Moving to company number 2, Lactaid Eggnog with carrageenan and those artificial colors, yellow 5, yellow 6, and red 40. The company behind it? Johnson & Johnson, masters of the medical cover-up. In August 2023, J&J agreed to pay $11.2 billion because their baby powder contained asbestos. They've known since 1971. That's 50 years of No More Tears commercials, while knowing their product could cause cancer. Talk about false advertising. But what really shows their character is how they handled it when women got sick. Instead of taking responsibility, J&J's legal strategy was to blame the victims. They literally hired experts to claim these women's cancers were caused by lifestyle factors. I can just imagine the meeting. Maybe they got cancer from too much yoga? And this isn't their only hit. They've paid $5 billion for the opioid crisis, $2.2 billion for pushing antipsychotic drugs on elderly dementia patients, and $1.2 billion for hip implants that were falling apart inside people's bodies. Here's J&J's business model. Sell dangerous products, hide the evidence, attack the victims, pay a settlement that's less than the profits. They've spent $20 billion on settlements, but made $400 billion in revenue during the same period. Our third company, Land O'Lakes, with their 4 thickener eggnog cocktail, is involved in what I can only describe as dairy mafia activity. Federal prosecutors uncovered a conspiracy involving Land O'Lakes, Borden, Dean Foods, Darigold, Kemp's, and Meadow Gold. These companies coordinated the slaughter of over 500,000 healthy dairy cows between 2009 and 2013 to drive up milk prices. I'm not kidding. They had a cow elimination program. The result? Milk prices went up 30%, costing American families billions. For a family spending $200 monthly on groceries, that manipulation cost you an extra $720 per year. And there's a human cost, too. In 2019, Land O'Lakes worker James Kidd died in a grain silo accident. OSHA found 17 safety violations that caused his death. The fine? $27,306. 3 months later, executives got $2.3 million in bonuses for operational efficiency. This explains why Borden, Dean's, Darigold, Kemp's, and Meadow Gold all have similar problems. They're part of the same network that's been manipulating prices and cutting costs for over a decade. Finally, Kirkland Eggnog from Costco. Now, I love Costco as much as the next person. Where else can you buy a 50-pound bag of rice and a kayak in the same trip? But their food safety record is, well, it's bulk-sized problems. Kirkland ground beef caused an E. coli outbreak in 2019 that hit 19 people across 7 states. Same year, their frozen strawberries caused a hepatitis A outbreak. Then, salmonella in their chicken, E. coli in their spinach. At this point, shopping at Costco is like playing Russian roulette with your digestive system. But the real issue is their marketing deception. Costco sells wild-caught salmon that's actually farm-raised, 100% organic products with pesticide residues, and grass-fed beef from cows that never saw grass. It's like they're running an agricultural fantasy league. When confronted about their chicken supplier's horrific conditions, Costco executives claim they have high animal welfare standards. That's like calling a demolition derby a driving lesson. Moving on to Dean's Eggnog. And here's where the pattern gets really disturbing. Remember, this is the brand using high fructose corn syrup, cornstarch, guar gum, carrageenan, and artificial flavors. But wait until you hear what they did to their own dairy farmers. In 2019, the FDA issued a Class 1 recall for Dean's products. That's the most serious category, reserved for products that could literally kill you. We're talking about listeria contamination in products sitting in your refrigerator. Dean's executives knew about contamination risks months before the recall. Internal emails show they chose to keep shipping products rather than shut down production lines because it would hurt quarterly profits. And the animal cruelty footage from Dean's suppliers will make your stomach turn. Hidden cameras caught workers punching cows in the face, stabbing them with pitchforks, and leaving injured animals to die slowly in their own waste. When this footage went public, Dean's response was, "We'll review our supplier standards." That was 3 years ago. They're still reviewing. But here's what really shows their character. When Dean's filed for bankruptcy in 2019, executives paid themselves $47 million in bonuses while owing $2.8 billion to dairy farmers. They literally robbed the farmers who supplied their milk, then gave themselves raises for managing the bankruptcy efficiently. Turkey Hill Eggnog contains sugar, corn syrup, carrageenan, guar gum, and artificial flavors. In 2018, a Turkey Hill facility had an ammonia leak that killed fish for miles downstream. The EPA fined them $100,000. That's less than what Turkey Hill makes in 4 hours. Internal documents show Turkey Hill knew their ammonia system was failing for 6 months before the leak. They had multiple warnings from their own safety inspectors, but fixing it would have cost $2.3 million and shut down production for a week. After the fish kill, Turkey Hill executives received performance bonuses for cost management efficiency. They literally got rewarded for environmental destruction. Darigold eggnog uses sugar, corn syrup, carrageenan, guar gum, and conventional milk. In 2019, Darigold worker James Martinez died from an ammonia leak at their Seattle facility. He was 34 years old with 2 young children. OSHA investigators found 17 safety violations that directly caused his death. The fine? $145,600. 3 weeks after Martinez died, Darigold executives approved $3.2 million in bonuses for operational efficiency improvements. They celebrated cutting safety costs while a family was planning a funeral. Darigold has over 1,000 Clean Water Act violations. They've been dumping waste into Puget Sound for decades, killing salmon runs that Native American tribes depend on for survival. The animal cruelty at their suppliers is so bad that criminal charges were filed. Investigators found workers beating cows with metal pipes, using electric prods on pregnant animals, and leaving injured cows to die over several days. Now we get to Promised Land Eggnog, owned by Coca-Cola. Their eggnog actually has cleaner ingredients, just sugar and carrageenan, but the company behind it is literally destroying the planet. Coca-Cola has been named the world's #1 plastic polluter for 5 consecutive years. They produce 3.3 million tons of plastic packaging annually. That's 200,000 bottles per minute, 24 hours a day, 365 days a year. But here's the really sick part. Coca-Cola has spent $8.2 billion since 2010 lobbying against bottle deposit programs, plastic reduction measures, and recycling initiatives. They're literally fighting efforts to clean up the mess they created while spending millions on green marketing campaigns. In India, Coca-Cola drained aquifers so completely that entire villages ran out of drinking water. In Mexico, they're extracting 1.08 million liters of water daily, while local communities have no access to clean water. Coca-Cola also owns Fairlife Milk. In 2019, they paid $21 million to settle lawsuits over horrific animal abuse. Hidden camera footage showed workers beating calves, sexually abusing animals, and throwing them around like toys. Finally, Good and Gather eggnog from Target. Their ingredients are actually decent: cane sugar, carrageenan, and RBST-free milk. But Target's track record with protecting customers is a disaster. In 2013, Target suffered the largest retail data breach in history. Hackers stole credit card and personal information from 110 million customers. That's 1 in 3 Americans having their financial data stolen. Target knew about the security vulnerabilities 8 months before the breach. Their own IT security team sent 47 warnings to executives about system weaknesses. The fix would have cost $18 million. Instead, Target executives chose to spend $23 million on executive bonuses that quarter while ignoring cybersecurity. When the breach happened, they paid $18.5 million in settlements, almost exactly what the security fix would have cost. Target has been linked to supply chains using Uyghur forced labor in China's Xinjiang region. We're talking about actual concentration camps where people are forced to work in factories, making Target products. Now, you've seen the full picture. 9 companies that are all connected through the same network of corruption. Dean's, Darigold, Land O'Lakes, Kemp's, Meadow Gold, and Borden were all part of the dairy price-fixing conspiracy. Walmart and Target both use supply chains with forced labor. Coca-Cola and J&J both spend billions lobbying against health and environmental protections. This isn't a series of isolated bad actors. It's a systematic problem where the same companies cutting corners on ingredients are also cutting corners on worker safety, environmental protection, data security, and basic human decency. Every dollar you spend on these brands is a vote for this system. You're not just buying eggnog. You're funding a network of companies that have decided your family's health and safety are acceptable sacrifices for their profit margins. But here's the hope I promised you. After discovering this web of corporate corruption, I became obsessed with finding companies that prove business can be done differently. Companies that treat workers fairly, protect the environment, use quality ingredients, and actually deserve your trust. After exposing all these corporate scandals and ingredient nightmares, I know you're probably thinking, great, so I can never drink eggnog again? But here's the good news I promised you. Not every company operates like this. I found 3 eggnog brands that prove you don't have to choose between taste, health, and ethics. Let me start with Alexandre Family Farm Eggnog. The ingredient comparison that'll shock you. Alexandre uses organic cane sugar at just 15 grams per serving. Remember Danzeisen dairy with 22 grams? That's 47% more sugar in the premium brand. Alexandre uses 2 grass-fed milk from their own cows, real organic nutmeg, real vanilla, real cinnamon, 0 artificial anything. Alexandre Family Farm has been operating since the 1890s as an actual family farm in Northern California. They're certified organic with regular third-party inspections. What really impressed me is what they don't do. No price-fixing conspiracies, no worker deaths, no environmental disasters, no billion-dollar settlements for hiding health risks. When you research Alexandre Family Farm, you find normal business operations. What a concept. Now, if you need dairy-free, Califia Farms Eggnog has a completely readable ingredient list. Almond milk, coconut milk, organic cane sugar at just 12 grams. That's 45% less than H.P. Hood's Sugar Bomb. Real vanilla extract. Real spices. No carrageenan. No high fructose corn syrup. No artificial colors. Califia Farms is a certified B Corporation, which requires meeting specific standards for social and environmental performance with third-party verification. What I found most interesting is what I didn't find. No OSHA violations, no environmental disasters, no contamination outbreaks, no deceptive labeling lawsuits. Compare that to Coca-Cola's pollution scandals and animal cruelty settlements. Finally, Organic Valley Eggnog uses a farmer-owned cooperative model with over 1,800 farmer owners. Their ingredients: organic milk from pasture-raised cows, organic fair trade cane sugar, real organic eggs, organic spices, no carrageenan. They use organic locust bean gum for texture. When farmers own the company, they're not pressured to cut corners for quarterly profits. My research found no price-fixing scandals, no worker deaths, no environmental disasters, no contamination outbreaks, no billion-dollar legal settlements. These 3 brands don't use high fructose corn syrup like 6 major brands we exposed. They don't use carrageenan like 14-plus brands. They don't have billion-dollar settlements like J&J, Walmart, and Coca-Cola. They don't kill workers like Land O'Lakes and Darigold. Alexandre Family Farm runs about $6 to $7 per quart. Califia Farms is around $4 to $5. Organic Valley is typically $5 to $6. That's competitive with the corporate brands, but you're getting better ingredients and supporting companies that aren't actively harming people. This Christmas, you can enjoy eggnog without wondering if your money is funding opioid crises, environmental disasters, or worker deaths. If this investigation opened your eyes to what's really happening in the food industry, subscribe to this channel because I'm not done exposing corporate food scandals. There are more investigations coming, from breakfast cereals to snack foods to beverages. The more you know, the better choices you can make for your family. So there you have it, the complete truth about what's really in America's most popular eggnog brands and the companies behind them. We exposed 14 brands using carrageenan, an inflammatory seaweed extract that's banned in baby formula in Europe, but somehow acceptable for your Christmas eggnog. 6 brands poisoning families with high fructose corn syrup that causes 48% more weight gain than regular sugar. And 3 brands turning your holiday drink into a glow stick with artificial colors, yellow 5, yellow 6, and red 40. But the ingredient problems were just the beginning. Johnson & Johnson, who owns Lactaid, paid $11.2 billion for hiding cancer-causing asbestos in their products for 50 years. Walmart paid $3.1 billion for fueling the opioid crisis while selling you wood pulp as 100% Parmesan cheese. We uncovered a dairy industry conspiracy where companies slaughtered 500,000 healthy cows just to manipulate milk prices and steal money from your grocery budget. The pattern became undeniable. Every single company cutting corners on ingredients was also cutting corners on worker safety, environmental protection, and basic human decency. Here's exactly what you need to do when you go shopping this week. First, check those labels. If you see high fructose corn syrup, carrageenan, or artificial colors yellow 5, yellow 6, and red 40, put it back on the shelf. You now have insider knowledge that most shoppers don't have. Second, avoid these brands. Great Value, Kirkland, Lactaid, Land O'Lakes, HP Hood Golden, Dean's, Turkey Hill, Darigold, Promised Land, Good and Gather, Southern Comfort, Shamrock Farms, Kemp's, Meadow Gold, and Borden. These companies have proven they don't deserve your trust or your money. Third, choose the brands doing things right. Alexandre Family Farm, Califia Farms, and Organic Valley. They're available at most major grocery stores and cost about the same as the corporate junk, but without the scandals and harmful ingredients. This investigation revealed something bigger than just holiday drinks. The same companies cutting corners on your eggnog are cutting corners on everything else in your grocery cart. When you choose to support ethical companies, you're voting for a food system that prioritizes families over profit margins. Every dollar you spend is a vote for the kind of world you want to live in. The corporate giants we exposed are counting on you to keep buying their products out of habit or convenience. But now, you have the knowledge to make different choices. You work hard for your money. You deserve to know that the companies you're supporting actually care about the products they're putting in your home. You deserve transparency, quality ingredients, and ethical business practices. This Christmas, when you're gathered with the people you love most, you can feel good knowing your eggnog came from companies that respect families like yours. Remember, you have more power than you realize. Every purchase is a vote. Every time you choose quality over convenience, you're making the food system better for everyone. This Christmas, enjoy your eggnog, knowing you made an informed choice and supported companies that actually deserve your business. Check out one of the 2 videos on your screen next to continue learning about what's really in your food.